you can nail it and pass me. Like high-low of outrun or something.
Yeah.
When I told my parents that I got a Ferrari, my dad pointed out that it was not my first.
Really?
And he sent me this from when I was a kid. Yeah, so I had a pedal car. That was my first Ferrari, apparently.
Nice.
Yeah. So.
And the radio is still, you can't. It's out there.
Very rarely do I listen to the radio in this car.
Right. Dog leg first.
Dog leg first. Oh.
But if you look down here at my feet, my shoe is hitting the brake.
Yeah.
So not with these feet. We almost have to go home and I have to get a better pair of shoes or just take my shoes off.
Yeah, you could just take your shoes off.
Film me from like up here. This is,
Yeah, that's something.
my knee is in the way of the gear shifter.
I know. You've got a big grin on your face, too.
I'm not a Ferrari guy, but oh man.
Yep. Same.
Oops, there, got light. Just a little bit.
Yeah.
Front end hopped. Interesting front end push a little bit.
Huh. I don't think I've noticed it, but I don't think I've really had the bob and weave experience. You've come to the awesome turning radius of the Ferrari 308. There you go.
Ooh, sorry,
It's
sorry.
all right. It's all right. It's all right.
Come on, gated shifters. I thought you were supposed to stop that from happening.
That may have more to do with the condition of the clutch than the gated shifter.
No power steering.
Nope.
All right, I had plenty to go. That's
Oh yeah.
there's a man. You really have to press that pedal down.
Yeah.
Now going down through the gears, do you double clutch or you?
It's synchronized, but when you get down to like second and first, like you're not going to go into first unless you're pretty much at a dead stop.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm talking like just now.
Yeah.
I felt like I could have done that a lot smoother.
You'll get used to it. It really is about that pedal travel. It's where it engages in the pedal travel is really different. I think that's partially because it's at the end of its life.
Yeah.
I'm 99% sure that fourth is 1-to-1.
Okay.
That's where the dogleg is nice. It makes for a slow shift between first and second.
Yeah.
But you spend most of your time between second and third, and that's real fast. So I have not gotten loose in this car before.
You probably have so much tire on this car and so little power that Well, not little power, but
it's 200. But yeah.
There's a lot of space between those gears, honestly.
Yeah.
I wasn't expecting that.
I did not find this car. This car found me. I was certainly not in a position to buy a Ferrari. I bought this car when I was unemployed, actually. There is a motorcycles and coffee event. It's a BMW GS club, actually, that hangs out. And we were up at the parking lot with our cars one day, and there was a cadre of rear engines. So I had the DeLorean, a buddy of mine had a Corvair, and another guy had a 911. Gentleman felt left out, and he's like, I've got a rear engine car too. And, oh, what do you got? He's like, I've got a Ferrari 308 and it's for sale. I'm like, that's interesting. How much do you want for it? And he said a number that we were all wearing masks during COVID, and I had to ask him like 4 times, like, are you serious? And he said yes, and I said, well, don't offer that to anybody else. I'll come over this afternoon. And anyway, I went over to his garage and walked in and saw it, and he says, so do you want it? And I said yes, and that transaction took place in a matter of 3 seconds. So that's how I found this car. And like I said, I was unemployed at the time, but I have this shop that I rent with a bunch of other guys as a hobby shop. And of course, I was a little scared about working on a Ferrari 308. Turns out this car is not that difficult to work on. What's hard is finding parts and getting parts. The part supply chain for this is terrible.
How do you find parts for this car?
So, first of all, it's very traditional where you have to call people and ask for a quote, and then they have to build the quote, and then they have to you have to pay them, and then they manifest stuff and throw it at you. So there's no great places where you can go to a parts explosion like normal parts buying experience and just click a shopping cart and say, I want, these parts. So they, everybody that has these cars, they all come with the parts book. So this one, and this one's a little bit wrong, because you see 1981 to 1982, this is the first generation of the injected models, but this car is a 1980 and it's a transition car. So what I find is sometimes I'm buying parts for the earlier versions in the carb cars that fit it. For example, the sensor on the transmission that sends signals to the instrument cluster is not the right part in this book. It's the older part. So I'm not anymore, I've learned my lesson, but when I first started buying parts for this car, I would 1981 or 1980 Ferrari 308, and I would get the wrong part. So I would have to either go backwards in time for some parts or go forwards in time for some parts, and just kind of trial by error.
And this is the first car, the first 308, or the first year of 308 with fuel injection?
Correct. And some 80s were,
there it is.
Yeah, some 80s were carbureted and some 80s were fuel injected.
Oh, really? So
yeah.
It's like a Ford thing.
Yes.
Some
yes.
are, some aren't.
Yes.
Was it an option, or you get what you get?
No, I think it was a point in time this was the year that they made the transition, and depending on when you bought it, the later ones in the year were fuel injected, and this is the 2-valve fuel injected. This is like the most undesirable power plant that you could get in this, the slowest one. Makes 200 horsepower. It's fun, but it's not fast.
So when you were searching for parts, what was the first part you searched for?
Okay, so
did it run when you got it?
No, it did not run. Actually, that was part of the reason that I got it for the price that I got it at. We did manage to, a couple reasons that it didn't run. The first reason, not the previous owner, but the owner before that was an aftermarket stereo company person, right? And this thing was decked out with some crazy audio, but it also had an integrated alarm system. And that alarm system had interrupted the starter. So when you turn the key, the alarm would go off, but the starter would not engage. And the previous owner could not find anyone that was willing to work on it. So the Ferrari dealership, Alger wouldn't work on it. The local shops that specialized in exotic cars, they didn't want to touch it because there was no documentation on it whatsoever. It was a hunt mission. It took us a while to find the brain box, but it was behind a speaker on the floorboard. Yeah. there's a hole cut underneath the floor mat down there. I can pull the floor mat out too and see if I can show you the hole. The alarm brain box was under there, but it was 80s tech. So they had spliced wires, put ends on them, plugged them into one side and then into the other side. So what we did was unplug them, connect them together, boom, the starter works again.
Nice.
Right, okay. Still didn't run because it had been sitting for 3.5 years and the fuel system was a hot mess.
So what did you have to replace with the fuel system?
This is the best part of the story. Because this is a Bosch K-Jetronic, there are part numbers for the Bosch cross-reference that I got all from Rock Auto.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So $300 in parts. I got a new fuel pump, new filters, an accumulator, and I think that was it.
So what parts off of Rock Auto you can get that fits a 308?
Pretty much anything on the Jetronic except for the warm-up regulator. I'm not really sure about this next bit of data, but the warm-up regulator here, I believe, from what my research has turned up, is those are specific to the application. They're tuned, and it's inside. You can adjust them, but there's like shims and stuff in there that make it specific to the application. So that is something that you can't get from just a generic part. But the fuel filters, the accumulator, the pump, it's all common to other stuff. And like I said, $300 later, we slapped that stuff in, thing fired right up.
Awesome.
Yeah.